Hello, welcome to episode 5 of How to Jazz Cello. You would not believe how many episode 5s I have shot on my phone only to throw them away. I don't know why. I should just upload them. But here we are. This is for real episode 5. And I just wanted to throw this out there so that I can get going again and I can make more episodes of this. I teach a lot of private lessons, so I might as well just turn the camera on and teach a little concept doodad for you guys. And I want to keep this consistent. So if you have video ideas, please let me know. I'll totally make it if you comment. Today I want to talk about how to memorize jazz standards. It's so important to memorize jazz standards. You have to memorize them. Don't be the guy that goes and reads off of iReal. Don't do it. You have a real book? Good for you. Don't read off the sheet music. Learn how to memorize it. So how do you memorize it? What do you need to do to memorize it? There's kind of 3 things you need to know when you go to memorize a jazz tune, a jazz standard. The first is the melody. The second is the chord changes. And the third is any essential bass line, specific bass line, we'll get to that, or rhythmic hits in a melody that are important. So let's talk about this. Melody. When you go to learn a melody of a jazz standard, you want to find, maybe you learn to melody off of sheet music. Maybe that's the way that you were taught it, is you found a copy of the sheet music online, or you read it out of the real book, which is this standard tune book of all the jazz standards that a lot of people know. There's plenty of books out there with lots of jazz tunes written in them, so maybe you learned it off of that. But it doesn't count. It's also not memorized, so it doesn't count. If you read or if you play the jazz tune exactly how it's written out of a jazz book, you will get castrated at the jazz jam. You won't actually, but it's really important to base your interpretation of the piece off of the recording, not the sheet music. The sheet music is the in-between byproduct, and the recording is always king. You have to use the recording as reference. If sheet music helps you get it under your fingers fast and that's what you need, great. Do it, I guess, if you can't learn it off of the recording. But when you do know the melody, when you've played it through a couple of times, the phrasing should be informed by a recording of the piece. And if you're unsure of which recording to go off of, if it's a famous recording, or if it's a famous tune, if it's a relatively famous jazz tune, then you can generally find recordings by either Ella Fitzgerald or Miles Davis or Sonny Rollins or Dexter Gordon or Hank Mobley or Charlie Parker. I'm forgetting a bajillion people, or Oscar Peterson or Wes Montgomery. There's lots of people out there. All the names I just mentioned are perfectly suitable people to go learn recordings off of. How do I know this? Where did I get this from? Honestly, there is no standard. Go learn the tune off of whatever recording you want. If people at the jam session, if you ask to call that tune and you're I want to play Recordame, which is a jazz tune, then you can be specific and be I learned it off of this version. And no one will bat an eyelid. I mean, there is probably a standard version of that tune, but the benefit comes from specifically getting inside one recording and learning everything there is to know about that recording. Not necessarily that there's a standard recording. There kind of is for a lot of these jazz standards, but it's also cool to go and learn a jazz standard off of a lesser known recording and make that your home base for it. Ideally, you would learn it off of multiple recordings. You'd learn it off of one, and then you'd kind of adapt that interpretation to match another recording. And then, just kind of by your own osmosis and absorption of these recordings and your own personal preferences, you will start to develop your sound and your interpretation. So we're kind of going off in the deep end, but all of that to say, when you play, even if you go and learn a melody off of sheet music, try to play it along with a recording of that song, of that jazz standard, and see how different they phrase it. That player or that singer sings it. Also, yeah, pro tip, if you can do it to a recording of a singer, do it. If there's lyrics to the song, then do it with the singer. There's a famous story of Lester Young, who's a very well-known tenor saxophone player, who was a big inspiration to Charlie Parker, who is like the godfather of bebop vocabulary, and yeah, very important jazz person. Lester Young was, maybe it's an urban legend, but he was taking a solo over a jazz standard that had lyrics to it. And he was taking a solo, he was improvising, but then he just stopped improvising in the middle of his solo, kind of awkwardly. And the next soloist goes, as they do. And after the song finished, one of the players walked up to Lester Young, and he was like, "Why did you stop in the middle of your solo?" And he was like, "Well, I forgot the lyrics." And he was so tapped into the lyrics that he was singing them the entire time as he was soloing. And the second he forgot the lyrics, he just stopped soloing, because that was the correlation for him. He was feeding his improvisational ideas off of the lyrics. So cool, so interesting. So bonus points if you can learn the lyrics for a tune that you're playing, if it has lyrics. Not necessary though. Okay, so that's melody. That's a couple of piece of advice. As you go to memorize it. I mean, the whole point of this video is to just tell you to go memorize a jazz standard, or 2, or 3, or 20. Go do it. I want to emphasize it, but hopefully that helps. Second thing is chord changes. So this is the part where I have practical advice. Chord changes are notoriously difficult to memorize because chords have multiple notes in them vertically, and they're changing all the time. That's why they're called changes. I'm being way too goofy in this video. One thing I like to do before I go to memorize the qualities of every chord is to just memorize the roots of every chord. And then I imagine that as a secondary melody underneath the tune. So I'm going to actually use the tune Recordame as my example here, right? So this is the melody, right? We're going to get to that part. That's the first half of the tune, okay? The chords for that part of the tune, there's only 2 different chords. Well, there's 3 different chords, right? The first 4 bars of the tune are all A minor. And then it goes to C minor. And then we have, it switches to F right there. But that's only 3 chords, I guess, if you're counting that last F. Not a lot of chords, right? You can memorize that pretty easily. It's 8 bars of music, 4 bars of A, 3.5 bars of C minor, and then 2 beats of F, right? In fact, I'm not even going to be fancy. No slapping, no fifths, just 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2. Oh, wait, I'm totally slapping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2. Okay? Easy enough to memorize. The hard part comes right after that. So the second half of the song has these changes. Right? A lot more chords. Now, this particular tune is characterized by a lot of 2-5 progressions. We're not talking about 2-5 progressions today. I'm not even going to tell you what that is. I'll tell you that in another video. But let's say you're going and memorizing that. You need to memorize all of these chords. Well, we start with the B flat major, then we go to B flat minor, then we go to E dominant, then we go to A flat major. We're not even done with the first 4 measures of the B section. Then we go to A flat minor, then we go to D flat dominant 7, then we go to G flat major 7, then we go to G minor 7, then we go to C7, then we go to F major 7, and then we go to an E7. but it's really like an E7 alt. Something. That's a cool voicing. Okay. I totally have ADHD. That's a lot more chords, right? The easy way out, right? There's a lot of a thing about this tune is that there's this common motif in the chord progression where major chords turn into minor chords, but the root stays the same. Like it goes like B flat major, then it goes to B flat minor, right? If you just condense that and you're just like, I'm playing a B flat chord, and you only play the root, you don't have to memorize the other notes, right? You just go. I'm just thinking of that as a baseline, though. I'm not thinking of the quality of the chords yet. After you memorize the song as a baseline, then you start to just name the chords. Practice, even if you're looking at the chords, like as you're playing it, just name them as you go. Go A minor, A minor. Go to C minor. C, F, B flat, B flat, B flat, A flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, G, C, F, F, E. Just naming it can really help. And then, like, you've already learned how to accompany on the song. You just might not be able to do it with chords, but at least you're like hearing the root movement, you know? And generally, when it comes down, at the end of the day, you just gotta memorize it, but when you know the root movement, there's this way in which the chords kind of fall, they cascade to one another, where you can start to just intuitively hear, oh, this next chord's gonna be a major, this next chord's gonna be minor. Oh, there's a dominant chord, that means that the next one's probably gonna resolve in a certain way. There's tendencies that you'll probably pick up, I would say, even naturally, just doing this. But if you want to more consistently and robustly understand it, it's good to be able to know how to do harmonic analysis on a tune. Like to know what a 2-5 is, to know what a 3-6-2-5 is, to know what a sub-5 is, to know what secondary dominants are, to know what modal interchange is, to know what modulations are. I don't know. We'll talk about that in another video. But at the end of the day, if you don't know any of that, you can still just memorize the chords. You can just brute force memorize them. And I made videos prior telling you how to spell them, right? It might be extra work, but also a tune like Recordame is like 16 bars. It's 16 bars looped. That's not a lot of music. A lot of you guys watching practice like the Dvorak Concerto or like Saint-Saëns or Elgar. You memorize that. You can memorize Recordame by Joe Henderson. You might not be able to improvise on it, but you can memorize it. And that's like going to benefit you so much as an improviser just to memorize. So do that. Okay, last thing is the rhythmic hits and bass line thing. So there are certain jazz standards that have a specific bass line that might engage in some counterpoint with the melody or is like an intro or an outro. I think a classic example is the tune All the Things You Are, which has a very famous bass line in the intro. that bass line, I just walked the entire form just because, yeah. But I played the intro and the outro at the very end. That's an example of a tune where like it's basically part of the tune. You need to know that bass line even if you're not playing it during the melody or if it's not part of the comping for the entire form. That's an intro and an outro thing. Let's go back to Recordame really quick, which I was just playing. That has a more subtle rhythmic hit that is in the chord changes towards the second half. There's a hit. So after it goes, so that hit at the very end, that's still a motif that continues even into the solo section, right? I'll do a faster tempo. So I play that hit there. It's very important to know that as part of the song. So here's a test you can do. After you think you've memorized a song, you should be able to do this. You should be able to sing the melody. You should be able to sing the bass notes of the chords, like the root motion. It doesn't mean like necessarily walk a bass line. It just means like be able to sing the roots of the chord. Third, you should be able to sing any rhythmic hits or important intros or outros for the tune. If you guys have questions, such as, what tune should I learn? What are some essential recordings of X tune that I need to know? How do I know when there's rhythmic hits? Stuff like that. It depends, and it's on a case-by-case basis, but I'll be your friend. If you comment, I will answer you, and I will help you with your specific question. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm just going to upload this as is. I know this is like super neurotic. I just want to make more of these videos. So I'm going to upload this as is. If you want more content like this, tell me. I will make more, and tell me ideas of what you want me to make videos on. I have some. I'll make some more. But all right. I'll see you guys. Take care. Good luck. Happy practice.